What's going on, guys? Aero here, and welcome back to another video. Now in today's video, I want to talk to you guys more about Pokemon Sword and Pokemon Shield. Now with all the stuff that's going on about these games, I think that you guys have been able to see that I'm pretty open with expressing my opinions on things that I'm not a fan of, things that I don't like. If you follow me on Twitter, then you definitely know that I post a lot of memes and things about just things that I'm disappointed with in terms of Pokemon Sword and Shield. But at the same time, it also seems like a lot of you guys are getting the idea that I'm not excited about these games at all, that I think that they're really bad and that there's nothing good about them. So I figured in this video, let's actually talk about both sides. Let's talk about everything that's good that I really love and I'm really excited for and looking forward to, as well as the things that I think could be worked on and need to be improved. So hopefully after watching this video, you guys will understand that I'm still very excited for Sword and Shield. There are things that I am a fan of and things that I think that they do really well. So hopefully you'll see those points inside of this video, but then you'll also understand the other points of things that I'm disappointed with and why I critique them and point stuff out on Twitter, as well as make videos about it. Alright, so in terms of the good stuff, the first thing that I want to talk to you guys about is the wild area. Now in the June Pokemon Direct, it got revealed that there's going to be a special part of the Galar region called the Wild Area, and in this area you're going to have free control of the camera and basically be able to move in all directions while looking for Pokemon and items and interacting with other people, and so it looks really cool. It's kind of like that concept of having an open world Pokemon game that people have always wanted, and while we quite don't have that yet because we can see that from other screenshots, it's still going to be like that hallway type of linear Pokemon game in most areas. It is nice to see that one part of the region is going to be like this vast big open world area that you're going to be able to explore and move freely. It's kind of getting us one step closer to eventually, maybe in future generations, having an open world Pokemon game. Now something else that's kind of connected to the wild area that I also really like about Sword and Shield is how you are going to be able to see wild Pokemon in the overworld before you encounter them, and this was a feature that was introduced in Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee, and I really did love it a lot. I loved seeing Pidgeys flying around inside of the world and seeing Rattata scurrying through the grass and like being able to run into one to actually start the battle. I really liked that whole feature, and the first trailer for Sword and Shield that came out didn't show any signs of this, so I was a little bit disappointed because it seemed like we were going to go back to the old school style of just running through the grass. But after seeing new screenshots in the wild area, it definitely looks like that yes, you are going to be able to see wild Pokemon still running through the overworld. They're even properly scaled, so like big Pokemon are actually going to be appearing much bigger in the overworld and in the wild area, so I'm definitely a really big fan of that. The next thing is something that Pokemon has pretty much never failed at in every single generation, and that's having good music. I mean, I'm really excited to just hear what the soundtrack of Pokemon Sword and Shield is going to be like. Pretty much every single generation there's always some bops and bangers, so I can't wait to hear what it's going to be like. We've already heard a little taste of what the Wild Battle theme is going to be like, as well as the Gym Battle theme, but I can't wait to see what like the Champion theme is going to be like, the Elite Four theme, some of the Evil Team themes and all that, so I can't wait to hear all of the really good music. Something small about video games that a lot of people don't pay attention to is the UI, and I gotta say for Pokemon Sword and Shield, the UI is actually very well done, and I definitely gotta give them credit for it. Now if any of you guys don't know what UI is, UI stands for user interface, and it's basically like what all the menus and icons and symbols look like in a game, and I gotta say for Pokemon Sword and Shield, the UI is very well done. I'm a really big fan of how the menus and everything in that game look. They've got like a really simplistic design going on where everything is there, but it's not cluttering your screen, it's not like all over the place, so I'm a really big fan of it, and I gotta say it's very well done. The next thing that I'm a really big fan of is also something that Game Freak is really good at doing, and that's designing new Pokemon. So of course with Pokemon Sword and Shield being the start of a brand new generation, it means we're going to have Pokemon that we've never seen before, and I gotta say of all the new Pokemon that they have shown so far, I'm a pretty big fan of all their designs. There isn't really any new Pokemon that I can say so far that's been revealed that I downright hate or am disappointed with. I mean obviously there's designs that I like more than others, like I really like Scorbunny's design, I really like Corviknight's design, but like some other ones so far have been pretty good as well. I really haven't found a design that I completely hate so far, so yeah, all the new Pokemon designs have been pretty good. I mean, I'm sure I'll probably get some that I don't like, but like overall in every single generation of Pokemon, I've always had multiple favorite Pokemon that I really love, so I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what all of the brand new Galar Pokemon are going to be like. Now going off of that, something else that I'm also a really big fan of is how they decided to bring regional variants back, and so they are going to have Galarian forms inside of Sword and Shield, and we've seen some new Galarian forms for like Weezing as well as Zigzagoon and Linoone, and I'm a really big fan of all those designs. I think that those are all very well done, and I also love how you're going to be able to get special evolutions for some Galarian forms, like having Linoone being able to evolve into Obstagoon, which is just crazy, so I can't wait to see what other Pokemon are actually going to get forms and then also brand new evolutions that have never been done before. A new reveal that doesn't really impact a ton of people but impacts me a lot that I'm a big fan of are the new items that they have introduced for competitive play. Now for me personally, after I'm done beating a Pokemon game, after I'm done like the main adventure and the main story, I can get another couple hundred hours out of the game by doing competitive Wi-Fi battles online, because that's something that I'm a really big fan of. I'm not like a huge fan to the point where I go to like regional tournaments and any of that stuff, but I still do like competitive battling a lot, and that's really what a lot of my time comes from in a Pokemon game after I'm done the main story. And so seeing the recent trailer that introduced new competitive items, I am pretty interested to see what the competitive battle scene is going to be like with Sword and Shield. There is an aspect of it that I'm very disappointed about, which I'll get into when we talk about the negatives, but in terms of the new stuff that they did show, I'm a pretty big fan of it. I mean, the new items seem pretty cool. There's a new item called like an eject pack, where apparently if your stats get lowered, you can just switch out, and so that could be very useful for some Pokemon using like Draco Meteor or Overheat or something like that, and then your stats get reduced, but you can instantly switch out and send somebody else in. There's a lot of potential for moves that could be really broken, and a lot of team compositions from using items like that. And finally, my favorite thing about Pokemon Sword and Shield so far that I'm a really big fan of are the character designs. So I gotta say, out of all of the characters that they've shown so far for Pokemon Sword and Shield, there really hasn't been any character that I downright hate or don't like their design or how they look. Pretty much every single character has been very well done. The main characters have some really cool designs and I'm a big fan of them. Champion Leon also has a really epic design. I love how he's got that whole cape and he's got like the Charizard following him, so that's really well done. The gym leaders also all have some really cool designs. I'm a big fan of Alistair's Shy Guy mask and how it glows up and how he moves his arms in a wavy way. It definitely gives off that vibe that he's a ghost type gym leader, but at the same time it also adds a lot of uniqueness and personality to his character. I also like how Milo seems like this really big and buff type of person, but his personality definitely seems like it's going to be like a really kind-hearted type of person, so all of those are really well done. And of course we've got a lot of cute girls inside of this game as well, so I'm a big fan of like Sonia and Nessa and Bia and Marnie and all those designs as well. So yeah, overall all the character designs with Pokemon Sword and Shield have just been very well done, and I'm a huge fan of all of them. And so hopefully by now you've been able to see that there's lots of things about Pokemon Sword and Shield that I'm still very excited for and looking forward to. I'm still going to be picking these games up on launch day. There's still things that I'm very excited for and I can't wait to play, but at the same time there are also some decisions that Game Freak has made that I'm disappointed with, that I'm not a fan of, and I'm definitely going to express them, because just because I like Pokemon doesn't mean that I'm just going to defend everything that they do. There are things that I'm a fan of that I will defend and say that yes, this is very well done, it's a good step forward, but at the same time there's also things that I'm not a fan of, and let's get into those things. Now the first one is definitely the big one that almost every single Pokemon fan doesn't like, and that's the removal of the national dex, or basically the fact that we're not going to be able to have every single Pokemon that's ever been created inside of these games at once. Basically when you get the game on launch day, whatever the Galarian region dex is going to be, those are the only Pokemon that you will ever be able to get inside of those games. And so if you want to transfer a Pokemon from your older games, like if you want to transfer your Staraptor or something, you gotta hope that it's in the Galar dex, because if Staraptor or your favorite Pokemon isn't in the Galar dex, you're just not going to be able to bring it into Pokemon Sword and Shield at all. Now the thing with this issue is that it impacts every person differently, and the thing with me is that, like I've said before earlier in this video, I like to do a lot of competitive battling, and so ever since Pokemon Black and White, when I got into competitive battling, I've been making countless Pokemon teams and countless Pokemon that all have competitive movesets and IV spreads and EV spreads and egg moves and abilities and all that type of stuff. So I've devoted a ton of my time playing these games, thousands and thousands of hours in making competitive Pokemon. And so with every single new Pokemon game that has come out, I've always transferred all of these Pokemon over into the most recent one, and so currently they're all inside of my Pokemon Ultra Sun. And so I spent so much time making all of these Pokemon and getting all of these competitive Pokemon, and I just feel like my time personally is wasted if they tell me that I can't even bring all the Pokemon that I spent time making with competitive movesets and all the time that I devoted into competitive battling to use inside of Pokemon Sword and Shield. So hopefully you guys can see where I'm coming from, but at the same time this impacts other people as well. Like if you're a casual Pokemon player, or if you're someone who likes to do a lot of shiny hunting for example, and let's say you've spent so many hours, thousands of hours throughout multiple Pokemon games catching shiny Pokemon, then you're going to have so many Pokemon that just aren't going to be able to come with you into Pokemon Sword and Shield, and that's going to be disappointing for so many people, because it's like, I've spent so much time finding these shiny Pokemon, hunting them down, getting them to have the right abilities and things that I want, and now you're telling me that I'm not going to be able to bring them into these games. Like, it's just like, it feels like all your time is wasted if they're just going to be stuck in those games. Or even I know that they said that they're going to be appearing in future Pokemon games, but it just doesn't feel right to not being able to get them inside of every adventure that you're going to have. Now with this entire National Dex issue, like I said, it impacts everyone differently. If you're the type of player who once you're done the main adventure of a Pokemon game, you never touch the game again, then this means nothing to you. You don't have anything to lose. If you just play a Pokemon game, and especially like a new generation, I'm sure you're going to be using the new Pokemon. If you're using a whole bunch of Gen 8 Pokemon on your team, and you beat the game, you beat like, you know, the evil team, you become the champion, you beat the post game, everything is done, and you're never going to touch a Pokemon game after that, then you've got nothing to worry about. But if you're like me, who does a lot of competitive battling and spends hundreds of hours after playing the main adventure to just spend competitive battling and trying to get better, then this upsets a lot of people, because it's like, I've spent so much time getting these competitive Pokemon, I can't bring them over. If you're a shiny hunter, then this impacts you a lot as well, because you spent so many hours hunting down these shiny Pokemon and now you can't bring them over. Even if you're just a casual player who loves completing their Pokedex, I know there's so many people that I know who've just completed their Pokedex with Ultra Sun and Moon. They were like, you know, I'm finally gonna do it, I'm gonna get every single Pokemon, and now they're gonna be told that, yeah, some of those Pokemon just aren't even going to be able to come with you. It's just like, it just doesn't feel right, because it's like, I've spent the time getting these Pokemon, I like them, I have, you know, a bond with them, I have an attachment to them, and now I'm forced to not being able to have them in the most recent Pokemon game. Now these next couple of issues are still ones that I'm not a fan of, but they're not at the level of having like no national Pokedex, as that's at a level for me that I feel like is devastating for a Pokemon game. I think that Game Freak should have done everything that they could to make sure that every single Pokemon they've created can be inside of this game. There's really no reason that it's not possible. A Nintendo Switch cartridge can hold up to 32 gigabytes. There's really no way that they could have not had 900 Pokemon inside of these games. It's more that they just don't want to put them in and take the time to actually get them. And the thing is, this wouldn't have even happened if they just said like, you won't be able to have all the Pokemon on launch day, but we'll add them later. But anyway, the point is, these next couple of issues are ones that aren't as bad as no national Dex, but they're still ones that I'm not a fan of. So the first issue that I have is with the animations, and I'm sure that a lot of you guys have been able to see that a majority of the animations used inside of Sword and Shield are recycled animations from the 3DS Pokemon games. We've seen idle animations for Pokemon, we've seen their attack animations, we've seen a lot of their animations be exactly what they were on the 3DS. We've even seen animations being used for like your rival character Hop, who's going to have the same exact animations as your rival character Hal from Pokemon Sun and Moon. So yes, they have done some animations that are pretty much exactly the same from the 3DS Pokemon games, and the thing that's just upsetting about this is that we've actually seen what good animations can look like on a console level Pokemon game with their attacks and things like that, because we've seen Pokemon Battle Revolution, and I'll put some clips of like moves from that game on screen for you guys, so you can actually see how high quality those moves look, and as well as like the animations of Pokemon kicking and all of that. So I was just really hoping that at a point where we're at a Pokemon game now on a home console, that we could probably get some really good looking animations, but a lot of these animations are exactly what they were on the 3DS. Now the next thing is how the game looks overall, in my opinion, and because of how Pokemon Sword and Shield is now on the Nintendo Switch, it's allowed to be compared to other Nintendo Switch games, not in terms of how good the game is, but in terms of the overall polish and finish of the game. And so if we do compare Pokemon Sword and Shield to other Nintendo Switch games like Super Mario Odyssey, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, and Xenoblade Chronicles 2, you can see that their level of art style and just the overall finish doesn't match what these games can achieve. And I was just hoping that when Pokemon got to this point, it was actually going to look much better than how Pokemon Sun and Moon did. And obviously this is a step up, but it just wasn't as big of a step as I was hoping. Obviously I wasn't thinking like it was going to look like Skyrim or anything like that, but I was just hoping that when Pokemon finally arrived to the Nintendo Switch, it was going to feel like a full-fledged console level adventure, and this just doesn't quite feel like that yet. It still feels like we're not at that level yet of Super Mario Odyssey and Breath of the Wild and Xenoblade Chronicles 2, and sure, this is a step up from Pokemon Sun and Moon, but like, we're not at the level that I feel like we should be with Pokemon. And also, I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen like the images of like the textures on the rocks and buildings and trees all over like the internet. Like, people keep posting them, but at the same time, it is worth talking about them, as this game is going to be coming out in 2019 on a very recent modern system, and some of these textures just don't look really good, and they don't seem like they're actually polishing them up and finishing them and making them look really nice. So it's just not going to feel like a full polished game by the time that it's coming out. So these are still things that I'm not a fan of. Now the next thing isn't really like a huge issue, but it's still something that I'm not a fan of, and that's the removal of Mega Evolutions and Z-moves, because it was confirmed at E3 that they are not going to be appearing inside of Pokemon Sword and Shield. You're not going to be able to get any Mega Evolutions, and you're not going to be able to use Z-moves. And sure, while this is kind of disappointing, at the same time, I'm not a fan of this decision, because it's like they've created so many cool designs of Mega Evolutions and stuff in the past with Pokemon X and Y and Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, and just abandoning them now and like forgetting about them and not bringing any of those cool designs into these games, and creating all those special Z moves and like all the time that they put into animating those and having those not be present inside of these games, it just doesn't quite feel right. Even last year with Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, they incorporated Mega Evolutions for all the Kanto Pokemon, but like just abandoning them now, it just doesn't feel like the best decision. But like I said, I can forgive them. This isn't like a devastating issue that's so bad that I can't live without, but it's still something that I don't feel like is the right decision. And I understand that their reasoning for this was that they really wanted to focus more on the new Dynamax feature, and they don't want you to be using Mega Evolutions and Z moves, but I feel like if they really don't want you to be using that stuff online, they could have just banned it or like not allow it online, and you could still be able to just do it in the game. But yeah, I really don't like how they just decided to remove those. And speaking of Dynamaxing, that's going to bring us to the last point of what I'm not a fan of with Pokemon Sword and Shield, and that's the new game mechanic of Dynamaxing and Gigantamaxing. Now, I've been a fan of all the new game mechanics that Pokemon has introduced over the years. My favorite is definitely the Mega Evolutions from Pokemon X and Y and Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. Just having a Pokemon being able to evolve even further, sometimes getting a new type, a new ability, and having stats increase was just really cool, and I loved having that twist in battling. But I was even a fan of like the primal reversions that were introduced in Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, and I also liked having the Z moves inside of Pokemon Sun and Moon and Ultra Sun and Moon. At first I wasn't like a huge fan of the Z moves, but after I used them and stuff, they kind of grew on me, so I was a big fan of them as well. But with Pokemon Sword and Shield introducing Dynamaxing and Gigantamaxing, it just doesn't seem like it's one that I'm going to be a huge fan of. Now, of course, I haven't tried using it yet, so my opinion for this could change by the time I actually get the game. Maybe once I try it out and stuff, I'll end up liking it a lot. But from what it seems like right now, it doesn't seem like it's like a really cool concept. Like, people have told me, like, you're basically just getting a Pokemon. It's going to get bigger. Sometimes if it's a Gigantamax form, it'll change how it looks. But you're just going to get 3 turns of using Dynamaxed moves. And even those Dynamaxed moves all have the same animations depending on what type of move you're using. And so this was actually pointed out in a Distant Kingdom video. If you guys know Distant Kingdom, then shout outs to him. But I'll have his video linked in the description if you guys want to go and watch it. But he pointed out that basically every single Dynamax move will look the exact same depending on what type of move it is. So if it's a steel type move, it's always going to look like this, regardless of if it's going to be a special steel type move or a physical steel type move. All of them will just look like this. And the thing is, it just doesn't seem all that creative, and like the whole Dynamaxing thing just doesn't seem all that cool to me. Like, even Z moves all had really cool animations, and Megas definitely were by far the best because they all had new models. But this just doesn't seem all that cool to me. It's like the Pokemon just gets bigger. Sometimes they'll change appearance a little bit, but like even the whole red glow around it just kind of ruins the whole experience for me. But yeah, maybe I'll end up liking it, but right now it just doesn't seem like it's a feature that I'm gonna love a lot. And also, Nintendo representatives at demos with Pokemon Sword and Shield apparently said that you're only going to be able to Dynamax at certain points in the game, and so like you're not even going to be able to go to Route 1 and just Dynamax your Pokemon, because obviously your Pokemon's going to get really big, so that's not going to work. You have to be in like a special stadium or a special arena or some type of place that has a lot of space to being able to Dynamax, so I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know if that's a good decision. The thing with like even Mega Evolutions and Z moves was that you're able to do them anywhere, and to have like this special feature be restricted to only certain areas, I don't know how I feel about that. And some people who played the Pokemon Sword and Shield demo have told me that the frame rate actually dips a lot in the game when there's 2 Dynamax Pokemon on field at the same time, or it dips a little bit even when there's just 1 Dynamax Pokemon. But the thing about these issues is that the game isn't out yet, so they could definitely optimize this and fix this by the time it releases. But at the same time, I just do want to point that because that's something that I'm not going to be a fan of, if like we're not going to be able to have a stable frame rate just because a Pokemon is Dynamax and there's a lot of stuff going on. So hopefully they can fix all of that. Now, I tweeted about this on my Twitter as well. I tweeted saying, just like every video game, Pokemon Sword and Shield has its good aspects and things that it could work on. So what falls into both categories for you guys? What do you like a lot and what don't you like that could be worked on? Reply to this tweet with your thoughts and you could be featured in my next video. Alright, so Mario Luigi here is saying free cam is the most hyped thing for me. I love the new designs for the Pokemon and characters. Galar forms are cool. Dyna and Gigantamax looks awesome. Biggest issues is the no national dex, the mediocre graphics so far, and that they never delivered on the more expressive animations promise. So yeah, here, I mean, a lot of these things I can agree with you. I mean, national dex for me, like you as well, it's like the most devastating thing for me. I'm really upset at that, really, at most. Mediocre graphics, I talked about that, how it doesn't feel like it's at that level of Breath of the Wild and Xenoblade Chronicles 2. And then the whole expressive animations thing, I mean, they've kind of improved that, but I know what you mean with like from Pokemon Sun and Moon, like they had no expressions, but here they have a little bit of expression, so I can kind of give it to them for that. But I know what you mean in like having actual really good detailed expressions. Nia here is saying, I really like the character designs and some of the landscapes, like the cave and snowy town shown in the first trailer. However, I think that Dynamaxing is a really stupid gimmick that does not bring anything new to the table, just a more boring Mega Evolution. And like I said as well, like from what I see right now, Dynamaxing just doesn't seem like it's going to be very exciting to me, but maybe after I try it out, I'll like it. Who knows? And finally, Vanillux here is saying the designs for the characters are amazing. Marnie is probably my personal favorite of the cast so far. Some of the Pokemon look great and the online looks to be promising. The thing that Game Freak needs to work on is the textures and make Dynamax more interesting. And so yeah, I totally agree with you on all of this as well. The character designs, I love them. I mean, like, all the characters are really cool. And yeah, in terms of the textures, I talked about like the tree and the rocks and stuff like that. They gotta fix that, at least polish it up by the time it launches. And then Dynamaxing, I think you're also another one who just doesn't think it's like completely interesting yet. So hopefully they can actually make it seem really hype and make it really fun once the game actually comes out. And so that's going to do it for the Twitter responses. I'm sorry I couldn't read a lot of them. I don't want to make this video too long, and we're already close to like 20 minutes at this point, so sorry for that. But remember, if you ever want to be featured in videos like this, then just go and follow me on Twitter at @Aero. And so there you go, guys. That's everything that I love about Pokemon Sword and Shield and everything that I feel like that they need to work on. It's all not bad, but it's also all not totally good. If we can both agree on that, then we're on the same page. If you guys enjoyed this video, then please be sure to click that like button and also comment down below and let me know what you guys think of this. What do you guys love about Pokemon Sword and Shield? What are you really excited for? And what are some things that you don't like and you're really disappointed by them? Definitely be sure to comment down below and let me know. If you're new to this channel, then please be sure to subscribe. Definitely gonna have some more Pokemon content in the future, so please be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on that. Click on that bell to become a part of the notification squad. Go follow me on Twitter at Aero so you can be featured in videos. And also join my Discord server as well. We've got a bunch of people in there who are always talking about Pokemon and Smash Bros and Nintendo, so definitely be sure to join that. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you so much for watching.